The period of time in American history that inspired me the most is during the Black Power movement. It was already exciting for me because that was the only time that I knew about American history, instead, like besides slavery. I remember my grandparents talking me about Malcolm X and how he was always willing to fight for his country. As a revolutionary country as Nicaragua is, Malcolm X was a quite big example of what they did back in the 80s to create revolution in my country. And now taking this class of African American literature and to see the period of time where all these political leaders and all these artists and that they create so much art to inspire people to fight, to inspire people to change. It was amazing. It was an ideology that moved so many people with music, art, posters, poetry, everything, like new like sounds and everything. It was not just for Black community. I think back like in the 60s, Latinos and other minorities in the United States were touched by this example of like Black community society coming together and changing all the rules of like what art should have like sound like, or how poems should be structured, all that kind of stuff that white society had created for all these artists. Two of the poets that inspired me the most was like Larry Neal and of course Amiri Baraka. It was really surprising for me to read his poems, Amiri Baraka's poems, because it's like so much power in them. It's so much like character, so much motivation, so much courage and like bravery that is just different from the romantic poems like European love poems, that it doesn't give me this much feelings. Maybe because I'm coming from a family where fighting for your country and the awakening is on our skin, because like liberty was hard to obtain. I will talk about that in a little bit. But yes, two of my favorite pieces during this class. By coincidence, two of them are from this era, from this period of time of the Black Power movement. One of them is how the review of the Black Arts movements in 1968 by Larry Neal, who was a cultural critic and also a playwright, and he was the leading member for the Black Art movement. I love how he describes and how he explains the importance to create Black aesthetics and to break all the rules that it was set by white aesthetics. It was something really needed, because as Blacks, but I can imagine how your culture were so different from white people, and you were segregated, so you were never the same. You were never surrounded by the same reality. You were never surrounded by the same opportunities. You were segregated. You never had the privilege of what white people back in the day had. So your feelings were different. The ways that you see life was completely different. So just to have somebody like Larry Neal stating all these aspects or like rules that explain how you should do you and create art for your community, expressing like how you really feel, creating art that motivates you and that you feeling and you should be free to express. It's just like the self-perception of African American, and I love that. I love that in his Black Art Movement review, he correlates how like the Black Art Movement and the Black Power movement should be attached and should be considered together. Like Black Art Movement is a political movement, yes, that creates art, but it also is not separate from the political views of the Black Power movement, because it has to look for change, it has to look for equality. And the second piece that I really enjoyed to read, and I did like a couple times, and I actually looked for the translation because I wanted to see how it was in Spanish. It was the Black Art, a poem from Amiri Baraka from 1965. It's a wonderful poem. It's powerful. It's out of the conventionalism of every single poem that I wrote before, because even like Nicaraguan poets, they follow the rules of the sonnets and the rhyme that it was said by European literature. So I used to see this wonderful poem that breaks every single rule, but at the same time it gives you so much emotion. It gives you, like, you just can't imagine how mad this poet was of living in this situation, that he got tired and he had to put it in words, and he had to just flow without caring how rough it was to read. How he was calling to artists to create pieces that motivate and to wake the community to act. When he said, we want live words, we need curse in the blood, like it's amazing. Like, you need to wake up. That's what he was saying in his poem. Like, I can't even quote it right now because it's kind of hard for me to. So when he said we want poems that kill, assassin poems, poems that shoot, guns, poems that wrestle cops into alleys and take their weapons, leaving them dead. Baraka, just like Malcolm X, believed that sometimes violence is necessary. Like, nowadays we see so many cops shooting at kids just because they feel like they are dangerous. How a kid can be dangerous? Like, I just don't understand. Maybe that's not my position to judge. But he couldn't just take any more injustice. So he just wrote it down and he went express his feelings. He was done. And you can, when you read his poem, you can see he was done. He was tired of it. Black nationalism is something that I really understand, and it makes me really, really sad that it's not happening right now much. It should like black kids should feel and should know who Malcolm X is, like what was his beliefs, and to know the difference, why Malcolm X differs from Martin Luther King, and from that just create their own perspective, their own judgment. I don't see that in the schools here because my sister, she's 14, she's in high school, and I actually asked her if she knew who Malcolm X was, and it was really sad for me to know that she doesn't know. She really doesn't know. I took my history class. I took 2 history class as a transfer student as a requirement. But for African American literature, I have many options. I have many options to take for my English advance. I took African American literature because, as I say, Black Power was one of the aspects of American history that touched me the most, because that's where I feel identified the most. So this is I learned so much about Black nationalism, and about one of my favorite characters and politicians of history, that is Malcolm X. So sad that we didn't talk about him that much, but I wrote about him a lot. When I have to go back and read the ballot or the bullet, I'm sorry. Malcolm X, it means a lot to me as a Latin person. And it makes me really sad that not a lot of African American people knows who he is. Everybody knows who Beyonce is, and what she does, and where she lives, and where when she was born, and what her kids' names are, but nobody knows about, not a lot of people, or not enough people knows about Malcolm X. Not enough people knows about Harriet Tubman or Caitlin Cleaver. Like, you should know this. Like, it's your history, it's your culture. But yes, Malcolm X and the Ballad of the Bullet is, I feel very very identified because I'm like, Nicaragua has a revolution, and I, as a Nicaraguan, we study all the revolutions in Latin America, Cuban Revolution, Venezuelan, Bolivian. So I grew up with this person right here. This is Sandino. This is the Malcolm X of my country. He's the one that started everything, and he wanted to finish inequality, and he took guns and went to the mountains and created a revolution because it was necessary at that point in history. Same as Che Guevara, as we know. Everybody that knows about revolution knows his image. If you love your people enough, you are willing to die for it. You are willing to die for your ideals. You are willing to die for your beliefs. Like, African American people deserve to be equal, deserve to be treated like they work so hard, and it's unbelievable. As an immigrant, I have so many doors that is being shut down on my face. So as an immigrant, I understand because I know African American people go through the same thing. They are judged. They are put in this little box of stereotypes, of many like judgmental situation where racism don't let you become a full citizen. Before you are American, you are African American. That shouldn't be that way. That's how I think. And I this class was amazing. This class, I really enjoyed it. But it makes me really sad that we talk so much about Beyonce, and we talk so much about, I understand that it's important to know how society is affected right now, but we should learn more. Because as a transfer student, I took this class because I like to learn about history, where that's the least I can do as a future American citizen, is to learn about history, to know to understand. It's the way of respect for the people that I'm living with, for the people that I'm sharing my space with. So it makes me really sad when I go some places and I realize I know a little bit more of American history than some of American citizens. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. Maybe I grew up in a different culture where leaders are respected and are admired after many years, and they are respected. They super respected. Like, we respect Fidel Castro, and he's not even Nicaraguan. We hear about Malcolm X, and he is not remotely Nicaraguan, but we hear about him. We know about him. We know about his work and his will to. He died for his country. Like my aunt, like, she was 19 years old when she went and fought for her country. Like, that deserves respect. That has to be known. And I learned a lot because this class was an awakening, because I thought that, okay, yes, black people was slaves and then never fought for the freedom, but then you find out that people like Malcolm X was willing to do it, but sadly didn't go that far. But I hope a lot of people gets to take classes like this and learn a lot and appreciate the art, because it's a beautiful culture. I'm in love with the culture. Like, culture is not just the rap and the hip hop that we listen to nowadays. And it was really beautiful to see all the novels and all these beautiful pieces of art that is created by black people. And it's not just the things that I really don't understand what is going on right now. So I think I would stay back in the days. I would still read a little bit more of Amiri Baraka and Du Bois and all these geniuses. I would stay with that.